This week, I learned such a big lesson about the importance of being vulnerable and having open communication with those that love you and that you love, even at the cost of possibly getting rejected, which is so scary. This week's episode of Coach Aidan, I'm going to tell you exactly what went down that made me feel like, wow, it's super important to communicate very clearly with your loved ones and take risks in relationships. Okay, so I'm gonna share something with you. I have never told my mother that I was HIV positive. It's something that I never thought that she needed to know. And also, her reaction to my coming out in my 20s was less than stellar. By the way, I had come out to everybody but my mother first because I had feared a reaction from her, and she was like the last one to know, which I was like, what are you, blind and deaf? But anyway, she seemed genuinely shocked, which was genuinely shocking to me. So when I told her, she got so upset. It's like she heard the news that, a close family member had died. She was like on the phone. She was like, I gotta go. It was like a Korean soap opera. She hangs up. A couple months later, she tells me that she had contemplated suicide, which is just great to tell me. That's great. And then in 2008, when gay marriage passed, she was like, hey, I'll try to support you, but just promise me you won't get married. And I said, I can't promise you that. To which she responded, you would choose getting married over your own mother? Like in a Korean soap opera. It was ridiculous. And so those three moments, not great reactions to your son coming out. Don't react. Try not to react that way. Doesn't establish a level of trust, But actually, 12 years later now, that was in 2008, since that event happened, we're actually a lot closer. We've gotten a lot better. And she even calls me to say like, hey, how are you? Are you seeing anybody? And as much as she could be, she was pretty supportive of my my going through Michael's, my ex-husband's transition. I was in a lot of pain at that time, and she was there for me. So we are close in our own way. It's just we don't have the kind of relationship where I tell her everything. So I never thought I would have to tell her that I was HIV positive. It's my health problem. I'm taking care of it, whatever. Except I ran into an issue. I just, a couple of months ago, had possibly a major career milestone, a major life-changing event. I wrote a book in which I describe my struggles with HIV, and actually my struggles in my teenage years, where because I couldn't go to college, which my mother actually blames herself for the fact that I couldn't go to college. There's that issue, because I was undocumented, and she thought that she should have been more on top of it, how could she be? But so in the book, I describe how because I couldn't necessarily go to college, I went and thought it was a good idea to become a Craigslist hooker, which in retrospect, there might have been other solutions. And also I got HIV as a result of my reckless behavior. And how I was able to pull myself out of that through empowerment, through the world of empowerment. That's what the book's about. It went number 1 on Amazon in a bunch of categories, and I'm super proud of it. And my mother doesn't know this. So as a result, I was so afraid of hurting my mom that I actually did not tell her that the book came out. I didn't really trust that she was fully accepting of my being a gay man, 1. And 2, I also didn't feel like it was safe for me to tell her because she's somewhat emotional, and she's expressed that she blames herself for my not going to college, and the book chronicles that struggle for me, and I thought it would be a really hard read for her, so I just thought, I'll just not deal with it. Except very quickly I realized if I do not tell her that I finished this book and that I'm moving forward in this direction and what I've shared in the book, then it actually shuts her out from a huge part of my life. Not only does it deprive her the opportunity of actually getting to know me, it also deprives her of the joy of celebrating my wins with me and deprives me of that joy of her celebrating my wins with me also. You know, she would never know. Her son is a best-selling author now. Yay! My mother in Korea, her dream was to be a writer. And back months ago, she actually said to I told her that I was working on a book. That was the extent of our conversation. And she actually said to me, you know what? I always wanted to write a book, but I never could do it. But I know that you could do it because you have the follow through. You finish everything you start. And so she was rooting for me to some extent. And so, I don't know. I had a difficult choice to make, right? And also, what if she finds out that I wrote this book from some other party, right? She finds out I wrote this book from some other party, and she reads the book and finds it out without her son telling her directly. That would be really painful. So I was like, man, out of options here. But because I was still uncomfortable, I was just like, let's just pretend like it didn't happen. This is what ended up happening because when you go, let's just pretend like it doesn't happen. I started getting resentful at my mother for my perceived projection of how she would react if I told her everything that was in the book. I thought she would overreact. And then I started getting upset with her for creating an unsafe space for me to really truly be who I am. And so I started feeling resentful at her for, this scenario. And I started not calling her as much, distancing myself, because I didn't feel like I could be completely myself around her. Then I had a come to Jesus moment. Look. Aidan Park is kind of like all about authenticity, right? That's what I say. Also, I say in my when I coach people, I say, you've got to live authentically to your values. Whatever you value in your life, you have to be true to those values. And you can find out what those values are, by the way. You can go to aidanpark.com and click on the Get Yay and download your values worksheet so you can figure out what your values are. Anyway, my values happen to be authenticity and freedom. Those are like my top two. So being that my top two values are authenticity and freedom, how authentic am I being by not telling my mother about myself and kind of distancing myself? And how freeing is that? I was like, I gotta tell her. Okay, this is where I gotta have a little compassion for myself. Because who has to ever dream that they have to call their mother and tell her, hey mom, I have HIV and I was a Craigslist hooker and I wrote a book about it. That's a bestseller. So a ton of other people know and I'm just out there about it and I just want to let you know before you find out through the book. Like who has to be in that situation? Do you see what I'm saying? And I'm like, truth really is stranger than fiction. I mean, what kind of messed up Lifetime TV movie would that be? I could see the title now. Mother, forgive me, for I was a teenage Craigslist hooker and I got HIV and I wrote a book about it and the whole world knows about it before you do. The Aidan Park story. But, I did call her and I did tell her and something crazy happened. She got real quiet for a minute and she said, I'm so sorry that you didn't feel like you could tell me this before. I'm so sorry that you didn't feel safe. And I just want to let you know that I will love you no matter what. I will love you whatever, however you are, always. I'm always on your side. wasn't expecting that at all. The thing is, back in 2005, when I came out to her, she had one reaction, and in 2008, she had another reaction. But there's a good chance that she could have evolved over those 12 years, as many people do. People evolve and people change, and I wasn't really giving her a chance to show that she had evolved in that way. I was just expecting that she would respond the way she's always responded. Then I realized something else. Her reaction is completely out of my control. It is. She could have reacted one of a million ways. But I think the most loving position that I could have taken as it relates to my mother and around this issue was the one I took. Talking to her and letting her know what was up and allowing her an opportunity to react how she was going to react and make her own decision. And kind of like handing my heart over, right? Because if she had rejected me or if she had had a really bad reaction, like that would have really hurt me, actually. That she would have a violent reaction to what was happening for me, what was true for me. But that's not what actually happened. And I realized, like, what we need to do for those that we love is actually be willing to say things, be willing to be open and vulnerable, even at the cost of possibly being rejected for doing so. That is the loving thing to do. And they can react however they want, but you're being loving by doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I had another situation where I was hurt by a friend. This week also, I felt hurt by a friend by something that she said. And for a while there, I was like, I'm not gonna, she always does this. I'm just not gonna talk about it, or I'll just share these parts of my life with her and not the part of my life about that subject. And that's unfair to her because she's been a good friend for a really long time. So how fair for me is it for me to decide on her behalf what she's going to be able to handle and what she can't handle? You know what I mean? The stronger position is to share, hey, I'm hurt. Express your vulnerability. Hey, this really hurt me. And I don't know if this is what you meant. You put yourself out there and give that person an opportunity to address it and listen to you. That's a loving act, not shutting them out. That's a distancing act. And it's an unfair thing to do to somebody that you love. I'm under no illusion that this is going to work out well for me every single time. It's just impossible. It's probably not going to. I mean, I've been cheated on. I've been betrayed. I've been lied to. I've had all of those traumas, in my life. And the reality is that those traumas may not be avoidable, but it is, as a person, for me, I feel that the right thing to do for those who have a long history of love and care and closeness, to express my vulnerability, even if I could possibly get rejected from that act, and let go of the result and see where chips fall. And affording people that opportunity, that is an act of love. That is taking risks in relationships that cultivates closeness with the other. And that's what I learned this week. I've learned that before, but I had to learn it again. So here we go. I want to thank you for watching my videos. It really means a lot to me. And I want to make these videos because I want to also demonstrate that I am willing to, I'm not just a talk, I'm not telling people what to do without walking the walk. I am here walking the walk, growing right along with everybody else. And so I really appreciate you letting me in and allowing me to share my story with you. And, and thank you for taking my vulnerability. Because, you could watch this and be like, oh, this is full of shit. And that would hurt, But, I'm doing it anyway. So I appreciate you guys. And thank you so much for watching. And have a great week.